All right, today we're diving into a pretty wild investigation. It's all about a super secret US government operation. So let's just jump right in.
Okay, so critics have a name for this whole thing: kidnapping with a gold-plated interior. Wow. I mean, that phrase really hits you, right? It perfectly captures the strange, contradiction at the heart of the system we're about to unpack.
So, what's the big claim here? It's pretty shocking. The report alleges that there's a secret airline, and it's deporting men from the US, but not on regular planes. We're talking luxury jets. So, let's break down how this whole thing supposedly works. First up, let's talk about the logistics. What exactly is this secret shadow airline that the report keeps mentioning? Okay, so check out this contrast. Normally, standard deportations happen on these big government planes. They're trackable, the manifests are public, but this shadow airline is totally different. It's all private luxury jets. And the report says, look, this isn't about giving people a comfortable ride. Nope. It's all about staying hidden. Because if lawyers can't track the flight, they can't file those last-minute appeals to stop someone from being removed.
And here's the typical flight path. It's a long one, 15 hours. It all starts at this hub in Arizona. Then the jet makes a pit stop to refuel in Shannon, Ireland, which apparently the Irish authorities are not happy about, according to the report. And the final destination, a handoff on the tarmac at Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv.
Now let's talk money, because wow, the cost difference here is just staggering. A regular deportation flight, about $2,000 a person. But these private jets, which the source calls the Shackle Express, they can cost taxpayers up to $50,000 for one person. That's a huge jump. So that just raises a huge question, right? For that kind of money, how on earth are they deciding who gets put on these incredibly expensive secret flights? Well, that brings us to our next section. The answer, according to this investigation, lies at something called the AI Digital Dragnet. The program's name is reportedly Catch and Revoke. And get this, it's an AI that's basically scraping social media, but only for non-citizens. Now here's the kicker. It's not looking for criminal activity. No, it's designed to flag people based on their political speech. So what's considered risky online activity? Well, the AI is reportedly looking for specific keywords, things like intifada or resistance. But it's way more than that. It's also flagging emojis, like the watermelon emoji, or pictures of the Palestinian flag. It can even use location data to see if you were geotagged at, say, a campus protest. And here's how fast it happens. The moment the AI flags you, your visa can be revoked electronically, just like that, instantly. And once that happens, you're immediately considered out of status, which makes you eligible for what the report calls a snatch and deportation. It can all happen so fast, there's often no time to even call a lawyer. Okay, so this is where the story gets even crazier. Turns out, this isn't just a US operation, which brings us to part 3, an intelligence quid pro quo. The report claims that before any of these jets take off, the US sends the full passenger list, along with biometric data, over to Israel's security agency Shin. And here's the unbelievable part. Shin gets veto power. They can literally decide who gets deported from the US on these flights. So what happens when they land? Well, for many, they go straight into something called administrative detention. And what is that? It's a legal process where people can be held indefinitely. No trial, no public charges. The report basically calls it a legal black hole. They're handed over from US custody directly to Shin agents, right there on the tarmac. So you have to ask, why? What's the trade-off? The investigation alleges it's a direct quid pro quo. The deal is supposedly this. In exchange for US support in a future conflict with Iran, which the report says is codenamed Operation Epic Fury, Israel agrees to take these people. It's a way for the US to get rid of certain activists or dissenters. Okay, this whole system is obviously incredibly complicated and super expensive, which always leads to one question: who's getting rich? That's what we'll dig into in part 4, the billion-dollar payout. Just look at this number. Let it sink in for a second. 54,100%. According to the report, that is the alleged return on investment that the main contractor got for their political donations. It's just an incredible figure. And this table breaks down how this alleged pay-to-play pipeline works. So you've got CSI Aviation at the top. They're the main contractor. Their owner donates, around $460,000 to a campaign. What happens next? Their company's revenue explodes to over $1.2 billion. And where does that money come from? It's funded by a new act that basically tripled the ICE budget, creating this massive $75 billion fund. And to keep the money flowing, CSI then lobbies politicians to protect that funding. The report paints it as this perfect, self-sustaining, profitable loop.
And that brings us to the last part of this story. And honestly, it's the most troubling. Section 5 is about what the source calls a death sentence by proxy. To understand this, we need to talk about a really important principle in international law called non-refoulement. It's a big word, but the idea is simple. You can't send someone back to a country where they're likely to be persecuted, tortured, or killed. And the human rights groups cited in the report say these flights are doing exactly that, a direct violation of that law.
The report details what it calls the most extreme outcome, and it's named the Gaza option. Here's what that means. According to a law the source cites, Israel has the power to internally deport someone, taking them from the West Bank and moving them directly into the active war zone in Gaza. Human rights groups are arguing that if you take a civilian from the U.S. and drop them into what they call an active kill zone, you're essentially handing them a death sentence by proxy. So when you put it all together, the report's conclusion is pretty stark. This isn't just about immigration. They're arguing it's a whole new blueprint for suppressing political speech, a system that uses AI, private planes, and foreign intelligence as weapons to get rid of people who disagree. And so that leaves us with the big, lingering question the source poses at the end. When you look at all these different pieces, the AI making decisions, the private contractors making billions, the four governments with veto power, who is really in control of this $75 billion machine?